just want to make sure they had the correct name in front of me. They switched these, and I don't want to be accused of being one of the other guys. So. I'm proud of who I am there, but I don't want to. These other two guys here, I'm not sure about. Frank, you're here. Our attorneys arrived. Where is the reporter? No? We have a cameraman here, but we don't have a reporter. Well, we'll do our pledge of the flag, a couple of items, and then we'll get into business. I was hoping Joe could be here for the swearing in. Pardon me? Oh, okay. I thought I recognized that face. I think I saw her at the Township Association meeting.
Yes, you did.
How about that? Well, maybe we can have. Okay, if you would all rise and join us for the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone. Anyone who cares to address the board, we have public speaks. We'll ask fiscal officer at this time to call roll.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mr. Camp? Here. Mr. Lockhart?
Here.
Attorney Matthews?
Here.
Chief Brown?
Here.
Assistant Chief Hollager?
Here.
Mr. Sims?
Here.
Mr. Melita?
Here.
Mrs. Simon? Here. Mrs. Lapham?
Chief, will you be able to give us all the detailed notes for everything? All righty. At this time, we will defer from our regular scheduled meeting. We'll go to Chief Brown, and then we'll go. Okay, we're going to go to Chief Brown for the swearing in an officer, then Laura. He'll be next on the agenda. And I hear somebody's phone. Oh, is that Frank?
Not me, no. Somebody's coat.
Oh. You know, anybody's phone that goes off has to write a report for $20 in a kid. Guess what? My colleague here. So the slush fund keeps going. Chief, we will have you take it away, sir, with your portion of the meeting.
Thank you. For the last couple of months, we have been doing a background investigation on a local individual, Joshua Teal, who's here today. He has successfully passed everything we've asked him to do and has met our expectation to become, one of our team members. So I'd like approval to hire Joshua Teal as a reserve officer of the police department effective today, March 11th.
Okay. Do we have a motion then to hire Joshua? Okay, and do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Right now, we don't need any, so call roll.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Camp?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes. And with that, Chief?
Josh, can you come up front? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Joshua Teal,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support
or affirm that I will support
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
and laws and ordinances of the political subdivision, laws and ordinances
laws and ordinances
of the political subdivision
of the political subdivision
to which I'm appointed,
to which I'm appointed,
and to the best of my ability,
and to the best of my ability,
will discharge the duties of this office.
will discharge the duties of this office.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
These are our board members. The president of the board, next to you.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Must stand. Take a seat. Sean Lockhart. Take a seat. So our zoning inspector, Frank Melita. And the fiscal officer, Chief Cindy Meisner.
Nice to meet you.
And you have some family here, sir?
I do.
And that being
That would be pretty much anyone in the back.
My. That's a good turnout. Well, we certainly welcome you. Certainly appreciate your willingness to serve. Are you from the township?
I am, but not Fulton.
You live in Canal, Fulton?
I live in Canal.
So you're from the city? Oh, okay. Well, we won't hold that against. They used to be a part of the township. I don't know if you knew that or not. They seceded from us a while back, yeah. They actually can do that now when you become a certain size entity. When they went from am I correct, Matthews? Went from a village to a city, over 5,000 people, and then they could pull out. So they chose to do so, become their own entity, which is all fine. But on a serious note, though, we really appreciate your willingness to serve, and family. Wow, nice turnout. Brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, former partners in crime, wives and kids. Is that all what I'm seeing here, or
Yes.
anybody you care to single out?
To single out?
This is all a test now, you know.
Most of them.
Most of them?
They're all trouble.
Well,
But they've all had a hand in me coming here.
so on behalf of the board, we thank everyone willing to share Josh and his time on law enforcement. Gotta take my hat off to you folks. Nowadays, I just don't know, but folks are willing to do that. So, and we have a good chief here. We're real proud of him and the whole department. So, questions? Any comments, guys, or anybody from the table?
We just appreciate you coming aboard. Really do.
And with that, why, swearing in, you need some paperwork or things you want to do for him or get something signed?
Yeah, you won't take for the sign, we can do it.
And as we always put out to the group, folks that come, you're welcome to stay, I should say, but you don't have to stay, don't feel obligated. Sometimes our meetings are exciting, most of the time they're not. And we would like to feel that they're educational and you get something out of them, but if there's folks that want to go after Chief wraps up the paperwork, get up and go, you're welcome to do so. We're going to start into our portion of the meeting outside of what was done here. But again, we welcome Josh, we welcome everyone, and thank you for coming. So if anybody wants to take time now and get up and leave, you're welcome to do that. Yes, welcome aboard, sir. We've been granted the minutes of the February 25th, 2019 current appropriations. Questions on those?
I have none, sir.
I don't have any. Do we have a motion to approve as written?
I'll make that motion to approve this submitted.
Okay, I'll second that. Call roll.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Minutes of the February 25th regular meeting. Corrections or additions?
None, sir.
I have none. I'll move that we accept the minutes of the regular February 25th meeting as presented.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
And the minutes of the February 28th work session, fire department with work session on grants. Any questions or additions?
No, sir. Make a motion to approve as submitted.
And I'll second that motion. Call the roll.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Okay, before we get into the financials, we'll also then deviate and have a lady that is from Ohio Edison. I'll have Mr. Camp introduce her. And that way, if you folks want to leave, we can empty the room.
Well, thank you. I'm Laura Tuvo. I'm the External Affairs Manager for your community, and Les asked me to come. I brought my friend Chris Drake. He's a forestry specialist with us in Highlands. So I know that you had some questions about tree trimming, but I also brought you just a nice little folder, some of the ways that we do interact. Recently, it's been storm-based. The wind keeps blowing in Ohio, so just need to understand that we're just as concerned as you are about getting the lights back on, and we do have a process for that. So there's a nice little pamphlet on the right side of your folder. It kind of talks about that process. It's a little power outage thing, and it talks about the intentional steps we take. We make things safe first. So a lot of times you're going to hear from your constituents that they saw a truck go by and they still don't have power. Well, that's intentional. We're de-energizing, we're cutting and running for a restoration crew to come by later. And those crews do work in order of importance. Critical customers come next. Transmission substation outages come next, and then the largest number of customers associated with an outage, those large outages, get worked. Finally, at the very end of the storm, is those people that are the last, single mill items is what we call them. So just to understand that there is a process, and we'll work through those questions or anything with you. You have my card there. You can always give me a call during the storm that's extended. Recently we did have a pretty good windstorm blow through, and we had some people out for quite a few days. Also on the side of that is this little handy dandy, it's our communication tool. So there's going to highlight as an app. There's also an online 24/7 power center where you can watch the outages just like I can. So it's very nice. People can report their outages via their phones. People can watch their outages via their phones. And at the beginning of the storm, you're going to see a lot of pushed out global estimated restoration times. And as we get crews assigned to those get updated. But again, I can always offer you an update too. But this is very nice, one pager, and a lot of times communities will link this to their websites. Kind of reduces calls to your community. And then on the last part on that right side is our vegetation management guidelines. And it's just a nice pamphlet. It talks about how we trim, why we trim, how often we trim, things like that. So a lot of people have questions about that as well. And this is a nice little pamphlet that you can refer to. All of this is on our website.
Oh, vegetation.
Yeah, vegetation, yeah.
I saw green.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, and so I did bring Chris if you have any specific questions, because he's our specialist in that regard. On the left side, just while you're looking at your folder, these are the ways we can help the community. And this is an impact report. It's going to be updated soon. This is 2017. We're still culminating what happened last year. And this is our foundation brochure. So we do support 501(c) organizations in your community. First Energy has a foundation. And this is information about, how to apply for that. If you have any of those organizations that are looking for some help, I'll be happy to help you facilitate that through the foundation. We have giving priorities. We also have some limitations.
Does that include like our park over here?
Yeah, as long as it's 501(c)(3), they can apply. Yep.
If we are, I'm not aware of it.
But a lot of times there's boys and girls clubs, YMCA's, things like that. We recently gave grants to Canal Fulton YMCA. That's being built. I know that's a sister to you, but just we're happy to support the communities we serve.
Okay.
And then this is another way that we can support the residents of North Lawrence, and that's customer assistance programs. So sometimes people in the winter time have trouble paying their bills. And these are some nice programs that are available to our customers that are also your customers. So just a nice thing to kind of review some of the public assistance programs that are out there.
So you're down on Erie Street?
Yeah, my office is on Erie Street. I cover a 4-county area.
Oh.
But that's where my desk is. Yeah. Yep.
You did say, your first name?
Chris.
Chris.
Okay. Chris is the vegetation guy to talk
Chris is
about?
our vegetation guy.
And I'm the distribution specialist for your area, so.
Are you the arborist?
Yes.
Okay, that's why I asked you to come to service.
Yes, we have had an ongoing issue with trees along the side of the road. And they're dying off, they're falling over, they're coming down, etc. But we also have issues with some live trees along the road. Pine trees in particular were pointed out in a couple areas by our road superintendent, but there's deciduous also, that when our truck beds go up to spread the salt, they hit those. And I'm trying to think of, and I threw it out in the last meeting, a way, and that's why your timing is good, see what you come up with or do, of reaching out to our residents to say, look, we need help with this stuff. Now, I don't know if you folks, I didn't read this, I don't know if you, from time to time, reach out to them and tell them you need their help with the trees, or you just go in and do them. But we know, and our attorney here has explained pretty clearly what our rights are, but I'm just wondering if you have some kind of little unique kind of approach that we might be able to get the word out in a kind and receptive manner that we need help with this tree issue, because these trees, again, are dropping branches, they're falling over on the roads. Some of our residents have been kind and taken care of it on their own. Some of the bigger ones, we've had to come and move off Now, we're not opposed to some of that, I mean, that comes within our responsibility. But that, I guess, because you've been doing it for years, now, Edison has been tree trimming and going and doing line trimming or having it done by somebody. Got any suggestions on?
Yeah, I actually do. One thing you guys could consider, I'm pretty sure you probably have a section of your responsibility that deals directly with trees, right? We, in the village of Preston, we put together a tree program, and in that program, we put ordinances into place that kind of push off some of that responsibility onto the tree owner. So certain types of trees that would be outside of the scope of the village responsibility or the city responsibility can be considered the owner's responsibility with the correct ordinances in place.
He's also a councilman in Creston, this is why.
Well, now, in fact, for the record, your name, did you get it, ladies? His name? Well, I understand, and Jim has very astutely explained what we legally can and can't do, our responsibilities, but I didn't know if you had some kind of a user-friendly program. Because, right, in fact, this lady right here, Marlene, owns some property up the way. It's ironic she walked in, but she does attend our meetings occasionally too. But she's got trees, she's got a tree row along the street here. Some old trees are in there. Well, you know, Marlene can't get up there with a damn chainsaw and hack them off, and we can't do them all. We try to help her where we can, and that might not be enough. But we got more situations like what Marlene has. And, you know, we got to deal with it, and I'm looking for a way that, yeah, you can go to the resident, you can put the hammer down and say, hey. But maybe I'm living in a pipe dream, but
I
I'm
can
just
tell
trying
you
to get
this,
something going that,
For forestry services in Ohio Edison, I can't speak for everybody in the whole entire company, but I can tell you in my part of the operations, we do not specifically ask the homeowners to do anything. Our responsibility as a utility company is to maintain the lines, and we have different scopes of responsibility in maintaining them based on the amount of voltages that run through the lines. So, you know, of course, service wires that run from pole to pole and pole to house don't get much. You know, older type service wires get a little bit more because they're open phase. We got to kind of keep the branches away from smacking together and arcing and that sort of thing. But you know, we don't ask them to do anything. It's kind of above and beyond our responsibilities.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because honestly, I brought him for a reason. I only know enough to be dangerous about a lot of subjects.
hey, at least you wanted to say something.
Yes, that's right. So, but, you know, our permission per se really is granted via right-of-way and easement and things like that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So on the transmission side of life in Ohio Edison, it's primarily an easement type situation where we're not really asking, we're just performing the work that's necessary. On the distribution side of life, it's prescribed, you know, I guess it's called prescriptive rights, is where we have, you know, rights to maintain the lines based on, you know, the existence of the poles of the property.
So all of our trimming comes as a result of some type of rights that we have to maintain.
Okay, and I know you're not in the tree trimming business. You hire a lot of that out, it's gotta be done,
We hire all
whatever.
of it out.
And you can't do every person's tree, you can't get into doing all the people's trees and tidying everything up and trimming, neither can we.
Right.
But while you're coming here, I thought, well, maybe you have some kind of unique little approach that is user-friendly. But I should have known, you're a big business, so you didn't give a damn.
Well,
that's not
we
true.
do try to be cost efficient in our operations, you know.
Yeah.
So, for an example, if somebody wants a tree cut down, it really makes sense for us to cut it down. We might work something out with them where, you know, we'll cut it the rest of the way down in exchange for them keeping everything and getting rid of the debris for us. Because, you know, sometimes we can cut it down just as fast as we try.
And I've seen that done.
So
But,
we'll do things like that.
Yeah, you know, again, and I pointed to Marlene there, there's 24 Marlenes out there that we gotta get with and get to, and Jim experiences that. He is, our attorney has kinda explained out our legal, where we can and can't go. And we even put together a letter, and, you know, I was at one point gonna go up to each house and knock on the doors, and then I thought, well, can I take that many black eyes, or can I take that much abuse, you know, by saying, hey, by the way, you gotta get these trees trimmed because they're hitting on our truck and whatever. Haven't come up with a game plan yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go back to and writing up, and then I'll send Sims, he's bigger than me, and then he can go up and talk with. But on the serious note, this is becoming an ever-evolving, and the storms are bringing down the dead trees, the old trees are bringing down, and all of that's expected.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe I might have just a little.
Trees are a tough sell.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone likes to look at them, but they get in the way of
When I heard he
reliable
was
electricity and effective road cleaning, right?
a vegetation management specialist, I thought, well, here, maybe he can specialize in manage our vegetation like
I
we
mean,
have.
and I mean, just, you know, to kind of add to that, we do communicate with people when we're gonna come through and trim a circuit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We do throw door hangers
Well,
out there and
All
that's it.
staff people.
We don't
know
just
about
come
that.
in because we can, you know, we do let them know.
We use door hangers and
Yeah,
things on there
right.
for communication.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that part's is paramount.
Right.
But I didn't know if there was some other little thing that you found that you've used over the
Yeah.
years. And you're telling me, of course, being an elected person in your community, what you do within the guidelines, and again,
Yeah.
our legal has kept
Well,
us.
I can tell you this too, the strongest thing to getting things done with trees and communities is just educating the community, I think, more than anything. And that's a tough one, you know, you gotta get tree people out there and let them know the right trees to plant in the right places and kind of get ahead of the curve a little bit, you know, and start steering the ship, so to speak, in a different direction.
But just in the last 3 or 4 months, and it could be give or take, there's been 2 people killed by trees, and I believe they're live trees come down. One over on the golf course in Belden Village, come off the golf course on Everhart Road and killed an 18-year-old girl.
I saw that in your story.
And then there was another one, I'm trying to think. Yeah, but I mean, this, you know, I'm just trying, we gotta get a handle on it.
Yeah.
And some of our dead ones are obvious, and some of those we've come in and tried to get a handle on. He's taken the lead, but we can't get them all ourselves. And again, a lot of them are live, and pines are coming out, and some of them are starting to destroy our equipment.
Well, I will offer this, if there's something that looks like it's in the way of a line, let me know.
Yeah.
We can get Chris and his team on that.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to come out and look at a tree.
They're
If
always
there's one
willing to
specific
read.
tree you want somebody to look at, absolutely.
You know, I mean, if we can, you know, get it in the way of a line, then.
You said that there was who did you say? You said you had a resolution or something with a city or something?
Well, in the village of Creston, we've put
Creston.
together, you know, tree ordinances that are in place that kind of helped us redirect the way we were approaching trees in the community.
Would that help us, Jim? Or not?
You just don't need it, because
Don't
you
need
already have all the authority
Okay.
you need.
Okay, I didn't know, I just thought I'd ask you. If you got cards, that'd be great.
Sure, absolutely.
Chris, if you got cards.
I don't know if I have enough air, I'll try here.
Well, you can just leave them up here.
Okay.
And then one last thing I do have, had a resident call me about your, what are those new lights called?
Oh, LED.
LED light program?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Okay, I had actually he didn't call me, he made the mistake of emailing me. And I started to read it and poof, I'm not good on a computer, I lost it. But what I got out of the little bit I got to read was he was inquiring about getting those LED lights put in street lights, and wanted to know if there's something we could do as a government entity to push that along, or how it's
I can
handled.
get you some information. Ohio Edison has an LED conversion program, and if you own and operate your lights, then you have to utilize the stock that we provide. There are a lot of outside vendors that are approaching communities and trying to sell their product, but if we own, operate, and maintain your street lights, then it has to be something we can own, operate, and maintain in the future. So we do have a program, and I can get you some information on that. I don't have it with me today.
Okay, if you would.
I
Is
will.
there a cost to switch from?
Yes.
Do you know what that
There's a
is?
conversion cost, it's, well, it's generally $228 per light, and it's a 12 light minimum,
$228.
per light, generally, depending if it's just, you know,
And
a single
if
switch
a
out.
township, if you can answer off the top of your head, if the township would enter into something like that, we have a lighting
We
district.
have a lighting district, we'd have to assess the resident.
Right, that'd be up to you.
Well, but
So
we
we'd
have
have
to,
to pay it up front.
okay,
Yes.
Cindy's already aware, and would we have to do all the district, because we have, how
We
many?
have like 5.
There's a 12 light minimum for the program.
You did say that?
Yes.
Okay.
So you could pick your main drag and see how it looks or whatever. But there's also, I'd have to check what rate you're on, because, you know, it depends on what rate you're on now as to whether or not you'd be saving monthly. So I'll have to check that as well. I don't have that committed.
Uh-huh.
We're going to 4.57 in the Is it July?
Well, that's your aggregation rate, I'm talking about the distribution,
Oh,
what you're paying on the lines,
Oh.
yeah, whether or not you're an ESIP community, that's an acronym for the tariffs that gives a very low rate in the state of Ohio. So I will check on that for you.
Okay,
Follow up.
but you can 12 light minimum, and you could do, because the inquiry came from a small area, really.
Yeah.
It was up there off that allotment off of Millfield, back in there, came from a small area. I don't know if there's a dozen lights in there or not, there might be.
Yeah, I mean, we could look at whatever you wanna look at, and you can
Okay.
make your decision based on some.
All right, I'll hold that thought, if you hold that thought.
Yes, I'm gonna
I
make
did
it right
ask,
now.
got the email went poof.
You'll
Yeah.
send that back to us and.
I will. Yep.
Other questions for folks? Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
When you were going around, you say you only go every 4 years trimming trees?
Yes, well, depends on which department you're talking about. On the transmission side, there's 5-year cycles.
5 years?
On distribution, we're 4. It depends on where you fall out in that 4-year cycle as when we, as far as, you know, how many outages per circuit occurs in each year. You determine, sometimes in circuits get pushed far enough ahead where it's almost 3 years. If you have enough customer-related outages on the circuit. So we want to get them priority circuits trimmed right away, so we can lower the amount of outages.
And you also said that if you've got a tree that you think is a problem, you can call.
Yeah, let me know, and I can get
Okay.
Chris's team on looking at it.
You guys do get creative on your tree trimming, I'll say that. I know you don't do them.
It's an art.
That's-
It's called directional pruning, right, Chris?
It is directional pruning.
Yes.
Well,
It is
it-
answer-
We
We're
do
here
get calls
certified,
from
that's
customers,
just,
we do
my-
get calls from
shape the
customers every
trees.
once in a while about your artistic skills.
Got it, I'm sure.
And they're usually not happy.
I know.
You wanna come out here and see how this tree looks, and
Yeah, there's a reason.
sometimes it's hard to identify, and it's still a tree. I know you do what you gotta do,
Yeah,
and I'm
you do, yeah.
shedding light.
And the
but,
tree's, you know, kind of sitting on our ground.
Kinda sitting on you. I like that kinda sitting on you.
Yeah, it's kind of there, yeah.
Cause yeah, it's,
So
that's
we have
probably,
to- It's health of the tree as well as it promotes the 4 years of clearance that we need, correct?
correct.
Yeah.
well, and again,
Keep
thank you,
looking at Chris,
thank you for
sure.
coming in and for your time on a serious note.
Yeah.
This is really, it's something we want to get a handle on and construct some kind of user-friendly advice, because Mr. Sims and I'm the road liaison, that's why I keep pointing to him, and we gotta try to get to some of these places, because they're starting to cause issues.
Well, we fall on a lot of times safety and reliability, you know, and that's what you have in getting your roads clear. I mean, winter's no fun in Ohio, so.
Well, people have been overall understanding,
Yeah.
but when you have a $2,000 or $3,000, potential $5,000 bill to hand them,
Yeah,
and then,
That's rough.
and they don't have sometimes the funds, and we don't either.
right.
So now we gotta, that's why I was hoping you'd come up with would you call that 5013, grant? And we'll go in and we'll fix this problem. But I could tell I was not gonna be able to go down that road on trees.
Yeah, not on trees.
All righty,
All right, thank you.
other items?
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a safe trip back.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of the bills. I'm sorry. Bid openings. All right. What are we opening bids on here? Material?
Their material bids,
Okay.
These are the bids right here?
road material bids?
Yeah.
Okay, you already did them this time.
Way ahead.
Yeah.
You gotta fill it in.
First,
You gotta fill them in.
Oh, you have to fill it in?
219, yeah. These were-
yeah,
Oh,
there's not opened yet.
Okay, no, I didn't, I thought.
Okay, first one's from DNR Supply. .301 hot mix, $72 per ton,
This is DNR.
DNR.
219.
402 hot mix, $75 per ton. 404 hot mix, $75 per ton. 405 cold mix, $80 per ton. Number 6 white limestone, $26.50 per ton. Number 8 white limestone, $27.50 per ton. Number 304 crushed limestone, $24 per ton. Price quoted are current board prices and are not guaranteed due to fluctuation in ever-changing oil market.
Asphalt and that went up pretty good, didn't it?
None of them came down. And thanks, by the way, for the past history. It was good.
Yeah.
Seeing what we were paying in 16, 17, 18, that helped.
Okay, the next one is from Rupp. construction. Number 6, wash gravel, $15 per ton. Number 2, gravel, $15 per ton. Number 9, wash gravel, $7 per ton. Number 6 and number 57, wash gravel, $15 per ton. Number 4, wash gravel, $15 per ton. Concrete sand, $4.75 per ton. Fill dirt, $4 per ton. Bank run, $8 per ton. Topsoil, $14 per ton. Number 310, $8 per ton. Number 411, crusher run, $9 per ton. And number 304, crushed gravel, $14 per ton.
What was the first one?
Number 8, wash gravel,
Yeah, what was?
$15 per ton.
15.
Next one is Orville trucking and grading.
Good.
Okay. Number 304, limestone. Do you want the picked up price or the delivered
Delivered,
price? Delivered?
yeah.
$19.50. Okay, so these are all these delivered. Number 57, limestone, $22.40. Number 67, limestone, $22.70. Number 411, limestone, $19.50. Number 8, limestone, $23. Number 4, limestone, $22.25. Number 2, limestone, $22.25. Number 304, gravel, $19.50. Number 67, gravel, $22.25. Number 8, gravel, $16.25. Number 4, gravel, $23.20. 310, fill, $14.75. Mason sand, $32. Concrete sand, $14.65. Fill dirt, not applicable. Topsoil, $26.
Not very often do you see no raise. Wasn't one raise in that.
Those are delivered here.
Yeah, I mean, but there's no,
Yeah.
same price as last year, every one of them.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous charge per load, late charge, any load after 3:30, $60. Saturday is $50, small load, $85. Wait time in excess of 10 minutes per yard, it's $90. American sand and gravel. These are FOB, Crystal Springs plant. Number 57, wash gravel, $12.50 a ton. Number 8, wash gravel, $11.25 a ton. Number 304, crushed gravel, $12.75 a ton. Number 411, crushed run gravel, $12.75 a ton. Mason snow grits, $5.50.
Grits, is that what we built and all that?
What's that?
For that other, for the other township, grits, $5.50.
No, that's, ours are different.
Oh,
Okay, North Star asphalt. .301 asphalt concrete, $47 a ton. 402 asphalt concrete, $53 a ton. And 404 asphalt concrete, $57 a ton.
What if you rebid?
You reject all of these?
Just, two of the suppliers we buy from, 3 of them, they didn't bid.
Yeah, we need to reject and re-advertise.
Is that all?
Yeah, that was all.
Okay, normal procedure is we have the road superintendent review these and then come back to us with recommendations. So, Jim, that will be for David, and thank you for that. Financials.
Okay, total pending warrants were $125,531.14.
Okay, we've had an opportunity to review the warrants earlier. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to
Do
approve.
we have a second?
Second.
Call the roll?
Mr. Camp?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes. Balance of receipts?
Okay, total receipts and balances were $2,976,415.25. Expenditures of $125,513.14, with an ending balance of $2,850,884.11.
Questions on balance and receipts, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Call the roll?
Mr. Camp?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes. Additional other financials?
Yeah, approval of purchase order to Huntington Bank. This is the lease payment on the fire truck, $36,373.04.
I'll make that motion to approve the purchase order in the amount given by the fiscal officer. Huntington Bank.
Second.
Any additional questions?
No, sir.
Comments? Call the roll?
Mr. Camp?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes, that's fire truck, right?
Yes.
Other items?
To approve permanent appropriations for the 2019 budget in the amount of $3,436,792.46.
Okay, we've had an opportunity to review those numbers with the fiscal officer at the work session. Questions, comments? Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion. Call the roll.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Camp?
Yes.
And then lastly, the February bank statement reconciled with an ending balance of $2,974,363.11.
Questions on the bank reconciliation?
No, sir.
Hearing none, I'll move that we approve the bank reconciliation as presented.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Camp?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Correspondence?
Okay, one item from the Stark County Board of Elections. Thank you for your cooperation and accommodations for the 2019 election in Stark County. We appreciate being able to use your facility on Election Day. Listed below are upcoming election dates. May 7th for the primary, August 6th for a special election, tentative, and November 5th for the general election.
Do we need a motion to approve this?
No, I think that was just an FYI.
Okay. Other correspondence?
No, I just have one other item. Stark County Township Association dinner meeting is March 21st at 5:30 p.m. Please RSVP to Kristen by Friday, March 15th. Well, actually Thursday,
That's the
because she's
road.
not here Friday.
That's the road from,
Yeah, that's with the road, the Stark County engineer.
I think the road guys meet earlier that day or something. Two different.
Yeah, we're supposed to meet in the morning. I'm not gonna be able to make a meeting in the morning, so
Come
I'll be going, yeah, I'll be coming in.
you gonna go on,
Yeah, I'm gonna make it.
you go on, Sean?
Yeah.
Up there tomorrow for the 4 of us.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Trustees, business. I did attend the Stark County Health Department's annual meeting. I am the new secretary. No, that was by default. I nominated myself. And, that was kind of an interesting nomination, too. But I'm the secretary. I found out secretary doesn't do anything. But anyway, I am the new secretary, so if there's anything to do, I'll get her done.
Okay.
I thought I'd stick my hat in the ring. Mayor Schultz was there, and we'll get to him here in a minute. They also talked about the increase, which is coming, I think, this year, and will be for 5 years. I thought they did a respectable job explaining out the money, why it's needed. So that was voted through. I did mention to them also that I had given, I gotta think what who they are now. I'm not sure if Holzlager was a senator when I talked to him, but now I think he's a state rep, and then Kurt might be the senator. But anyway, I did call them on the item of the health department has to, by mandate, inspect the schools twice a year. And we pay for it, the government entities. So I suggested that they take a look at that as why government township entity pays for something that the school would have done. Not trying to beat up on the school, but I found it interesting that townships, just like the rest of, wherever the rest of schools are located, pay. Now, I think, and I might be wrong on this now, but I think now, because the school's in the city, you guys are paying for it. So,
Thanks for pointing that out to us, Mike.
well, you know, there's always good news and then there's always news. And I think you all might have shouldered that now, that I think about it. But my question a year ago was, where's the I think Mr. Matt, where's the justification in the government entities paying for something that the state says the schools have to have? Why doesn't the school pay for it? So,
Just more unfunded mandates.
yeah. So, I did say at that meeting that I would call again and ask, because Holzlager, I think, was aware of it, Kirk wasn't. And both of them said, well, that doesn't sound right. So I do recall that bit of dialogue. That's all on health board meeting. I don't know, you were there, Joel. You remember anything else that went down?
No, I think you did it, like you said, they justified their need for increased funding, and so
How much was the increase?
2% a year for 5 years.
Yeah. And I know we had a printout on it quite a while back, but it was just now voted on at the last meeting for approval. They were asking about it, showed justification, and talked about the general fund and the things that go on with that, so. And Mr. Sims and I gone over quite lengthily a few things with the trucks, which he'll bring up. We all had a meeting on as far as our dump truck purchases go, and I'll turn it over to you, Lester.
I had a Heidi Daniels call me. She lives at 4544 Erie Street, and it was about when they had all that water coming up in what's that place called? It's a park on
United Fellowship Park.
yeah, United Fellowship Park. The water was coming up. She was worried that Windy Hills down there was dumping dirt and was causing the backup. And Jim called.
Start swallowing water.
Yeah, and they went and looked at it. He don't think that's causing the problem, but I'd just like to know if they are dumping when they should be, I guess. He'll let us know when they,
Yeah.
because he
Oh,
went
yeah.
out and looked at it.
He didn't, yeah, he didn't say anything about it, so.
Okay, that was one. And I had Lisa Jenkins, I have it somewhere, I can't find it, but Lisa Jenkins called me, door-to-door salesman. I just read an article today in the day's paper about door-to-door salesmen in Massillon. The guy that came to her looked pretty shaggy, and he was selling something that didn't make any sense, he said to her. She told me what it was in a letter. I think there was a letter here, I can't find it, I'm looking for it now. But what is, they said today, I don't know, Jim, that we could be infringing on some rights if we stop door to door.
Yeah, it's a commercial speech issue. You know, the vendors have a certain extent of First Amendment right to try and attract customers. You can, under the code, institute a program of pre-registration.
I we should do that. So we know who's out there.
Who would you want to have registered?
That's
Yeah,
me
you
now.
could
I think we
Have
want.
Cindy do it?
Oh, you mean here?
Yeah,
You have to have a designated person?
yeah, you should have a designated person who handles it.
Well, I'd say the little person on the totem pole ought to get it.
Here comes Kristen. Right, well, she,
Yeah, I'm a seniority kind of guy.
she's at the front window.
Oh, all right, well, good.
Well, I think we should do it hourly. Can we do our, you know, late at night, this guy came at 8 o'clock at night at dark, was beating on our door.
Hourly.
Yeah, really, it's a registration that is
Just a
the
registration.
permissible scope, it's not really a regulation.
Okay. What do you
I know
guys
that
think?
sounds awkward. I mean, you can put some things in effect and see if anybody challenges you. I get the sense of what you would put into your rules or regulations are common sense, and we know unfortunately, a lot of people don't follow common sense.
What do you feel about that as an attorney? Should we, I think it'd be a good idea. If you want to panhandle or whatever you want to call it in the township, you need to file a fee or something. We know you're there
Again, it's registration is the concept, yeah.
in the registration.
So you're not limiting them, you're not keeping them out.
So you get that information out to the public through the newspaper, through your newsletter, and are they gonna follow it?
That's
But you
the-
have,
that's a great question, right?
I mean, then, but if somebody is called on in an allotment, and chief's department takes the call, and they go up to investigate, if the person is there and doesn't have the paper that says, look, I registered, are they at that point then permitted, our law enforcement to say, well, you can't do this in Lawrence Township?
Yeah, that's true, they're not allowed. to
Well, I
do
mean,
it
does that
without
give them that legal,
It does.
that's kind of where I'm going with it, is that we're gonna do it, we wanna have, be able to enforce something.
Yeah.
And if the good apples will show up and follow if they find out. The ones that don't want to, that are maybe a problem, will not.
And people should be aware that generally you're permitted to post on your property, there's no solicitation. And people who are registered or not registered are technically not supposed to solicit from you. But
Is there a
again,
price to
that's-
pay for that if it says no solicitation? Is there?
Well, it's technically a trespass, it's not a criminal trespass, it's a trespass. I can't imagine that your chief is looking at me thinking, wow, we want to pursue, 150 trespass tickets.
Well, no, that's the whole idea of talking about it. I don't want to create any undue work for that department, but I'm hearing Mr. Camp's from concern, and I think it's legit. You just don't.
All I'm suggesting to you is, once again, there's an avenue for the people to help protect themselves.
Right.
They can't always just rely upon government at all levels to just help me out.
So that
with all my
avenue, so
predicaments.
is that avenue,
Post that you don't allow solicitation, and it's supposed to keep people off of your front porch.
we want to try that?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to know what everybody thought, because I have
You
no
can
idea.
couple the things, you can do both of these, you can suggest to people that they protect themselves. A lot of people just don't want that, they don't want to have a goofy looking plaque on their porch, they just don't want it. But if you're that worried about having solicitation, that's the way you protect yourself.
Has it been an issue in our township at all?
Yeah, we get quite a few calls in the summer.
Really?
So we had siding
There's the
guys.
usual ones, yeah, there's the siding, home improvement, windows, all of those guys that go around.
They go out at night, that's when they go out, because people, they know they're home. You know.
Well, if that's the case, then maybe having a
Couple of the
set of regulations drafted up, and then our astute little person on the totem pole can make it happen.
Then I've seen
Kristen,
signs,
you have
signs
names,
in
don't you?
neighborhoods.
What now?
I've seen signs in neighborhoods too.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
But the homeowner would never know whether they've registered or not.
Right.
They'll call the police every time.
That's what I mean, it's not gonna really do
Well,
anything for the homeowner, because they wouldn't know unless we would give them some sort of a badge or something from Lawrence Township, which I'm guessing we don't wanna do that.
Probably just give them a copy of the form that registers so that people.
Well, when they're registering, yeah, that's what I was saying. here, sign this, you get a duplicate copy and you go with it.
Then the people are gonna think that you authorize
Correct.
these people to show up.
Okay, that's a bad idea. I knew if we talked it through long enough. What else you got, Les?
Canal Fulton has a solicitor's ordinance, and they get less calls for it than we do.
I'm sorry?
The city has an ordinance against solicitors at the register. They get less calls about solicitors than we do, because there's a sign coming to the city, permit required.
See, I think we should do something, but what it is for sure.
Well, we don't have to resolve it tonight. Oh, wait a minute, we have a comment. Yes,
Question.
sir.
What do you do with Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, softball teams, et cetera? You're opening a quagmire there, I think.
Good point.
They should be registered.
Well, I live in the township, and when a solicitor comes into my neighborhood, I tell them, you need to register, even though I know you guys don't require that, and that usually leads the not desirable ones out of the neighborhood, you know, because they know I'm probably gonna call, you know, the township police department, and they're not registered. They don't even know that they have to register in Canal Fulton. So the good ones do, and I've been at the city hall when people were renewing their registration. It's just, I think you definitely should have the registration for the homeowners to tell them, you know, because then me, the homeowner, can say when somebody's at my door, are you registered? And if they say no, then get out of the township. I've already called the police, you know,
Now,
so.
Is there a fee to register in the
I
city?
think the code, I'd have to check the code too. I think the code allows you to charge a fee, but it would just be a purely administrative fee.
Yeah, just administrative.
Yeah, cover your time.
Yeah,
Can't
that's what I'm
you pick and
saying.
choose to, like, I worked for Copley Township, they would not allow ice cream trucks.
Oh, no, see, that's what gets you in trouble, is when you
Okay.
start controlling the messages at all.
Yeah, no, that, I don't wanna do that.
Well,
It's
why
gotta
don't
be
we-
completely content neutral. You either register vendors or you don't register
Yeah, the
vendors.
Boy Scouts never just could register.
And then the one thing you also need to, of course, keep in mind is who can't you force to register?
Who what?
No witnesses.
Who can you not force to register?
Which is,
A non-vendor. If you're not a vendor,
Who's a non-vendor? Somebody
a
not
Boy Scout, a Girl Scout, the kids for the softball team.
purely commercial transactions? Remember, these are purely commercial
A
transactions.
non-vendor.
And it's a very vague area, what is a commercial transaction.
Non-vendor is pretty straightforward, isn't it, Jim? Non-vendor. You're either a vendor or you're not. You have a vendor's license,
What about the kids that come around and want to sell you the little card for their football promotion?
they're not a vendor.
That's a vendor.
They're
It's a
selling.
commercial transaction. See, that's, you get into, there are reasons that there's the United States Supreme Court that sits in Washington DC. And unfortunately, they only take, what, about 100 cases a year, right? And about every 3 or 4 years, they deal with cases like this. Because these actually touch on a constitutionally protected right to engage in commercial speech. People have a right to advertise to you. They might not like it, but they have a right to do it. Now, that right, unfortunately, even extends to an infringement on your property right if you're not telling them not to be there.
So that goes
They have a
back,
right to come up
that
on
goes
your
back
front
to the
porch.
sign posted?
That's right. You have a right to come up on your front porch and reasonably approach you. And I know it'd be great, this would all work fine, and you guys wouldn't even have to talk about this if people would just be reasonable, right? But people will come late at night, or they'll interfere, and that's what gives rise to these complaints. But we do live in a country that promotes commerce and having people have the right to approach you. Politicians are gonna be on your door all the time. And that's not commercial speech, that's more heavily protected, because it's political speech.
That's nasty. Why don't we do this? Why don't we continue to massage this and we can come up with something perhaps, and with Mr. Matthews' assistance, that is workable, doable, but keep it, we're getting into the summer here in a couple months, so we got a little time to work it.
I wish I had that lady's letter. She really wrote, it was a long letter to me about, I got one at home, she got another one here, I think, came through Lisa Jenkins. But she's more scared at night. Probably if they came during the day, she wouldn't be as bad, but at night, but you can't designate
But
that.
again, you don't have to open your door.
No, I
You
know
don't
that.
have to allow these people to engage with you.
Yeah,
I know some people just aren't strong enough, or they're reluctant to do that. It's kind of like dealing with the problem that people had with unsolicited phone calls. You don't have to talk to people when they call you and you don't want to talk to them. You can hang up. You can not open your door. You can just let this be. But I know people get frustrated and they turn to you for some type of solution.
well,
I think that you're doing something very fair. You're looking at a problem that people have raised to you, with you. But even the way the code is structured, all you can do is put in place a registration program. I'm not sure what it accomplishes, except that you have people on file. I think it does give you a contact information, a primary person that's responsible for the conduct of the vendor. Maybe that in and of itself is a reason to have them registered.
see, we had a siding company, and pretty sure it was siding or roofing, up on 236. I think it was last year, maybe, I don't know when it was.
16,
Huh?
16.
16.
Surprised they didn't come through last week after the
Yeah,
giant windstorm.
yeah. Well, they were there late at night, and they were just pressure salesmen, but they wouldn't have a name on their shirt, they didn't have a name on their truck. That's where I think this registration might be great. We still have somebody to call up and say, what's your people doing out there at 8 o'clock at night? So I think you're right, we'll talk
Well,
about it.
we've got some good feedback too from some folks here that have some ideas or comments. So, yeah, let's take it and, you find that letter, and I know it's not the first time, because I believe you had brought it up before,
Yeah.
but if it's starting to surface again, let's see if we can mold something together and have it be workable, not get us in court, not get the chief and his group in any headaches, and not infringe on anybody's rights.
It is the type of case that people look for. Groups look for these little types of things that they can find suits on.
Who does?
Groups that you
Oh,
see.
okay, I missed it.
Maslin said the ALCU, wasn't it? That's who they were worried
Yeah,
about.
it's always the quirky little enforcement thing that gets you into court. At least typically is.
We'll try to stay away from quirky.
Yeah.
For some reason, the rat balloons come to mind.
I'll tell you what, you kind of think it over and see what you do in your own township, let us know if it's something that.
We don't have a non-solicitation registration, anything in our township, but we do encourage people who do not want to be approached by solicitors to buy a little placard, put it on their front porch, or put it on a post by the driveway or whatever.
That might be.
So that at least, because that does give them then a legal right. A person's not supposed to be there if it's posted no solicitation.
But there is something we can do. Yes, sir.
Thanks, tell me your name and address.
Go ahead. You want to say something? Well, I didn't have the other guy. I forgot you. Go ahead. Did you want to add to it? He's done.
We got you.
No, I was just gonna say that, now I forgot what I was gonna say.
Uh-oh.
It was too much. Well, the people who are going to register are gonna register anyway, and the people who aren't gonna register aren't gonna register. I mean, they're not gonna follow the rules, but you could chase them off once the rule is established. And there was something else that was even more important, but I forgot. So.
If it comes back, why interject? You're here for some other things, I guess. So.
I think, for us, what I like to be able to say, are you registered? And then that gives me a certain, where's your registration? And if they don't have it, then, get off my porch. But at least as a property owner, I feel like they've gone through some kind of vetting process to, feel like this isn't a stranger. Someone recorded the fact that this person's coming to my house,
Very good. We'll continue to massage that, hopefully get something in place. Appreciate the input back there, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'll let her know that we're talking. So
Yeah.
that'll make her feel good.
Well, it's not like we're going to pass anything concretely tonight anyway.
I remember now.
Okay.
So if you were able to send a response to her that would make these suggestions, and maybe even, I mean, it's probably crossing the line, but maybe even send her a little example of the no solicitation, but even like a response that you might encourage her with her rights and her understanding on both sides. You know, they have a right and you have a right. You know, maybe educate her on, kindly, on, you know, this is why we're considering it, but until then, you know,
This is what you
this
can
is
do.
what you can do, and this is their right, this is your right.
Yeah, no, I will call her back and talk to her. She was very nice, but boy, she was really concerned. I guess the guy was pretty scrubby and.
I'm not a salesman for Ring or any other brand of doorbell, but I'll tell you, they solve a lot of problems. You can't beat a Ring doorbell. Gives you very, very clear video right on your phone of who's out on your front porch. You can communicate with them through your phone. Thank you, I'm not interested.
Where's my flap phone? That's as far as I go. Is it more complicated?
See, I'm not sure it would work.
I'm not sure if it worked with me or not, so. Yes, one other comment there?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Matthews. After hearing that, I think that should be put up on the township's website, is just know your rights, put the sign up, no solicitation, and then you do have the right as a homeowner to call the township if they go to the next house or, you know, and they have the same thing. I don't think we need, you know, registration. Just like the gentleman up front said, the people that, you're only gonna hurt the good people. The people that aren't gonna register are the ones, you know, I think if the sign's there, that gives me, the homeowner, a lot better option, so.
Well, we can get on, have them get on our website, and I'm pointing to them. Once again, it's the illustrious catch-all Kristen here. But have that stuff put on, and we also want to know we're going to continue to discuss it, because there could pop up then some other kind of avenue. This stuff is always being worked and reworked, and Columbus is always sending us stuff, how they've changed. You know, our authority, sometimes we can go further than we used to be able to. Sometimes we've been jerked back. So if we get, I like that, if we get the public to know, and also Joan, she's burning up her pencil back there for the paper. Hopefully she can drop a note in there that says, you know, this is a little bit about what's been going on, and start the process. So, correct. Thank you all for the input. How's that?
Yes.
Other items, sir?
I don't know if this bothers anybody else, but it bothers me. In the newspaper.
Sean, do you have anything?
No, I'm fine.
You said it bothers you?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll move right along. Let's go to Sean.
I'm always the one that causes all the trouble, so I.
Yeah.
I like to tease you. That's a good man.
Real estate transfers are never in for Lawrence Township anymore. Does anybody have any idea?
They're in there.
They're in there.
Not in our paper.
There's just not a lot of them.
I mean,
The
I
Canton
guess-
repository?
Yeah.
No, I get passed from Independent.
Oh, I don't know about that, but Friday nights, Friday issue of the paper.
Real estate transfers are in the rep every Friday for Lawrence Township,
Oh, they are there?
but they're not in for Canal Fulton.
Tap on Friday. Yeah, it's all just Lawrence
Yeah,
Township. It
and I find
doesn't-
that interesting because you're not in Lawrence Township anymore.
Yeah.
But you guys, when they have the transfers, your streets are always inclusive under Lawrence Township,
Yeah.
where the other cities and municipalities are out Louisville, Nimishillen, but you all are lumped in with us.
Like
That's
we
what I
don't-
thought you were going with.
Yeah.
No.
it
But
does-
they
like we
are in
don't
the
even
rep.
exist.
They are in the rep.
But not the Independent then. That's really weird. I didn't know, we just wondered what happened. They were in there for a long time, then all of a sudden.
Saturday, the repository used to do the real estate tab on Saturday. Now they moved it to Friday, so.
They put a whole section in there.
Yeah.
They put a special section in.
Okay, well, I'll check that out. Okay. It was just bugging me. We weren't in there. I said, what the heck? Soccer's coming up, and I don't know if anybody knows if they've been in with schedules or anything. Nothing? Okay, I'll get a hold of them. I didn't know if they would or not. Talking about solicitation, Stand With Church is still going around to Newman. They'll be doing it again. They did one Sunday, trying to get people that need anything freely done. They don't charge a thing in June. House painting or anything, they're gonna be going around one more Sunday here coming up. I'll let you guys know, so, and Chief know what day it'll be. But if you know anybody that has property that needs something done, painted or something free, they have to qualify, but I mean, if they can't do it, please let me know or somebody will.
Strasser Stevens.
There you go. Pine locker inspections on our wipes for the township, you know, as you guys are doing. You listed them, have you been listing them? The ones that's been done?
Yes, I've been emailing them to you guys.
Oh, is that what it goes?
Yeah, I got an email the other day, did you get yours?
I don't know, I didn't think so. I think it was missing.
I've been sending them to your official township emails.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys utilize those or not. I know Maria kind of told me that you might not.
Yeah, I need to probably get on that bandwagon.
I got mine at home.
Okay.
I don't know how to get to it, but I got it.
I have been sending them
I was
out
kidding,
January and February.
I got mine at home.
I haven't found it yet, so I'll have to find out how to do it. North Lawrence Fire, Rich is here. Did you get a telephone call today?
No, I did not. I called, left him a message, and he never returned my call. I tried to call him again, and they were already gone for the day.
Yeah, because he says he's been trying. He called, got your number again today.
Yeah,
So
he never called my number.
call early tomorrow morning, because tomorrow meeting's their meeting. What I'm trying to do is, they agreed to, they signed a letter, they agreed to take gas down to the fire department. Am I right now? Okay. And what I'm trying to do is, if they come down to the fire department, Northeast Ohio Gas said they would possibly take it into North Lawrence for all the residents. But they won't do it till they bring it down the street.
Natural gas?
Yes,
Okay.
natural gas.
I didn't know where this
Yeah,
was going.
that's-
Oh, no, you're fine, you're fine.
So I'm really pushing for them to talk together before they have their meeting tomorrow morning, so, if that's possible, please try to do it early, so they're gonna have a construction meeting tomorrow morning on what they're gonna do.
Very good.
I know they've been pushing for a long time in North Lawrence, so I've been working on that lately, and I appreciate that. I think that's all I have, really. I appreciate that,
Well, if
sir.
anything else comes up, Mark.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Trustee?
I have nothing, I was under the weather last week, and I'm just getting back going this week, so possibly by next meeting I'll have some things. I'm supposed to talk with Joe Schultz, Mayor Schultz, so
I'll be back.
I'll be calling you this week.
Sounds good.
That's it.
Nice to see you back.
Fire department?
Thank you, sir. I've got just a couple short things. There is a first request letter in front of each of you for things that Chief Stewart will be bringing up next meeting. Both of the requests are for fees associated with attending conferences and training.
Okay.
So that'll be for next meeting. I have a second reading for some air masks that Chief Stewart had previously spoke to you about last meeting. These are from Fire Force Incorporated, sum of $1,860. So I would like permission to go ahead and purchase those.
Questions on that, gentlemen?
I have none, sir.
Do we have a motion then to approve as presented?
Motion to approve as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Call roll?
Mr. Camp?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Rich, North Lawrence?
Don't have anything.
Thanks for coming. Stay on that gas line.
Yeah.
We could get it.
Sounds like a winner. Police department?
Thank you. Thanks for pushing our swearing into the first part of the meeting, get them out of here. Two things real quick. First, I told you last meeting about a grant we applied for to replace our body armor. We were awarded that grant, so it'll cover 75% of the cost of the body armor.
Very good.
Second, we obtained 5 computers, mobile computers for our cruisers through Homeland Security grant at no cost to us. We do have 2 cruisers we need to equip to have all our cars all the same. The cost for us to equip the 2 cars is $7,470.70. Subject approval, and also to forego the 2-week notice, I keep this project moving to purchase these from Zones LLC. I talked to them today, they say it's 30 to 45 days to get equipment. That's why I'd like to forward you on the 2 weeks.
You mentioned that they're talking to fiscal officer.
Yes, sir.
Funding there?
Yes, sir.
I'll make that motion then. That's the zones.
Zones.
For
second?
Second.
Call roll?
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Camp?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
That's all I have, thank you.
Road Department?
Yes, sir, thank you. I have a few things here. As we've spoke previously about, two of our dump trucks are getting pretty bad off, electrical wise, and then some mechanical issues and transmission issues. One, I believe, was a 2002, the other one was a 2003 Internationals, 7400 series. I would like to replace those with 2019 Western Stars that have the Gledhill package, or not the Gledhill, the Henderson package on it, which is a stainless bed, stainless package, salt box. Our snow plows are in good shape still, so we don't need to replace any snow plows, so we're just looking at just buying 2 trucks, minus the plows.
Does that have the spin out chains on them?
Yes, this will have the on-spot chains on it.
And your provider is?
Kinzel, Sterling Western Star.
And the financial amount, 2 plows, trucks total is
Two trucks.
$306,094?
Yes, minus the plows. So
Minus-
we're not getting plows, yes. That's just 2 trucks.
Okay. For the audience's information, we had a work session on this earlier to discuss whether this was direction we wanted to go. We also have had several discussions about this. Mr. Sims, our road superintendent, Mr. Camp, Mr. Lockhart have been down to Columbus, looking at the various equipment down there, the offerings down there. So we have had about a 2-month or so discussion about the purchase of these new trucks, going over it with the fiscal officer, looking at different scenarios, if you will. The 2 trucks Mr. Sims alluding to are, one of them is in dire straits, needing thousands of dollars worth of repairs. The other one is not far behind. This board's feelings are that it's time to get rid of those. We dumped money into them and don't want to continue, but they need replaced. Mr. Sims and Cindy have worked on financing, but I believe if we approve this, it will be done through Western Star.
I believe so. Is that who?
The
Please.
municipal finance
Okay,
program.
thank you.
So we would probably have to approve financing from us after
Yeah.
the purchase.
So my question is then to Jim, if we approve this tonight, then Cindy can go through the process then of then getting with them.
Yeah, these are a state bid program.
Yes, this is.
I'm sorry.
You
I left that out. Okay,
You're fine going with the state bid program.
I left that out.
And just authorize your fiscal officer to handle whatever financial paperwork. That's all you would need to do.
Well, as I said, we have gone through several discussions and a couple of months of back and forth. But Jim has also looked at some different brands of equipment, so this was not the only game in town. It seems to be the best fit for us and financially. So with that said, you're requesting then that we
Yes,
approve the purchase
we
of
purchased
these?
the trucks. These 2 trucks are sitting at the dealership, so we don't have the order process. We will take delivery of the trucks, I believe, the first couple weeks in May.
Okay.
They're scheduled to be built in April.
Hearing that, I'll make the motion then to approve the request submitted by the road superintendent for purchase of 2 trucks in the amount listed, and also then approve Cindy to start with the financial arrangements and so on for the trucks. Sound right, sir?
Do we need to put like we're gonna finance for 5 years? In the bid?
Well, do you already know what the terms?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So she doesn't really need to pursue or negotiate.
Okay, okay. That's,
Apparently
Yeah.
she has.
I missed that part.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we're gonna have a down payment of $56,094 and then 5 lease payments starting next year.
So Mike, if you just want to include that into your motion to
Okay, if you will, include what Cindy's figures were. And again, the provider is that
Kinsel,
Pencil Sterling Mustard Star?
yes.
And the address and everything will be on here. I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Call roll.
Mr. Camp?
Yeah.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
And then I guess you sign
So we don't need to vote on financial.
That was part of it.
It was incorporated.
That was incorporated, that's what you were saying? Okay.
Yes.
He knows as long as.
Okay, other items, sir.
Yes, next, I would like to get approval to sell the two dump trucks we're replacing, along with a roller that we haven't used in several years, a grader we don't use anymore, and a broom for the front of the truck.
GPS.
Oh, the GPS unit for the mapping. Yeah.
Okay. Now, that is to be sold how?
I am gonna get with Assistant Chief Podlogger and put it on govdeals.com.
Motion from us to approve that. Any questions? Because we did discuss this also.
Just make sure you put the percentage to the buyer.
Yes.
That's it.
Everything.
With that, do you want to make that motion to approve that request?
Yeah, I'll make that.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Call roll.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Camp?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes. Other items, sir?
Yes, next thing I have is, for our boom mower, the tires are, we got extra, there's one tire that's completely shot, and the other one, we need to replace the rear tires on the boom mower. And that is in the amount of $1,345.12.
You talked with fiscal officer about the funding?
Yes, I have.
And what was your provider?
That would be Great Lakes Tire Service.
That's this POA?
Yes,
So that's
that's, yes.
Any questions on this purchase, gentlemen? We did talk about that earlier too. I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of tires for the boom mower not to exceed $1,345.12 from Great Lakes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Call roll.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens? Mr. Camp?
Yeah.
At next meeting, I would like to request a work session before the meeting with Rich Roan from Stark Soil and Water to go over our MOUs that we have. I believe our contract is expiring now, and we gotta get something set up for the future here.
That's the
So,
25th. What, do you think a half hour or you need an hour?
oh, I have no idea. An
Well,
hour.
why don't we go ahead and schedule an hour?
An hour, yeah.
And that would be.
You wanna do
for-
that at 3 o'clock?
That'd be an hour and a half.
Well,
Yeah, we.
as long as you guys have time to sign everything. and-
We'll be all right. 3:30?
All right.
Okay, and the purpose again was environmental, or,
Start Soil and Water to go over the MOUs.
I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Call roll?
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Camp?
Other items?
Yes, next, I would like just some thoughts on a recycle event to hold here at the garage jointly with Tuscarawas Township again.
Like we did last.
I wanted some thoughts, see what your guys' thoughts are, some ideas maybe, but I talked to the recycle district and Clean Harbors, who does the household hazardous waste, will not come to the event, but because I guess the cost,
Did you read
I
the
guess of
article?
it, well, but they will come and train us on what to take. And we can take it, they'll supply us with the boxes and the skids, but we have to transport it from here to the Canal recycling center after the event.
What's their charge for that? Or is it recycle pay for it?
The recycle will pay for that through the grant, because we're doing basically everything here, so,
Did you read that article about?
no, I haven't.
There is no money in it anymore.
Yeah, I
wonder
haven't.
what's gonna happen down here. Did you read the article?
I didn't know this.
Yeah, there's no money in any of it anymore.
Was that in Lake Township or something that someone had collected all that?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it is, where that guy, that's the guy they're talking about, has all that stuff.
E-cycle, Brett.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where he's at. He's got it styled like, there's no money in plastics now because the oil's so cheap. There's no money in aluminum, gold.
So maybe I should call him before we do
I
anything.
would do that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
All right.
the article was huge.
I will get back with you about that. I'll check. I didn't see that, didn't know anything
Yeah,
about it,
it's
so.
wondering what Stark Wayne they're gonna do. It was all about yard waste, now they're saying the other stuff's not reasonable to take anymore.
Hmm. Yes.
Other items?
Yeah, that's what we do. Yes, last thing I've got here is Mr. Matthews prepared a document here that I need to fill in. So, your permission, I can get this filled in and bring back to you next week. It's on the, split road agreements with the city of Canal Fulton on the two of the roads, Sheraton and Lafayette. And I will get with their road superintendent and we will set the from and to locations on here. And then I can bring it back to the board and.
Mayor, you did come to the last meeting, were you?
Yep.
Were you familiar
Yep,
with?
and I ran it past council, got their voice motion.
You're
Good,
gonna have her
you're
going
Yeah,
up?
so as soon as, like you said, I'll run it past,
I gave him a draft for this.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
and I'll get it to Mr. Thomas.
We verbally went over it. We asked him to do that so you could present it and go from there. Okay, very good. Thank you, Jim.
The only other thing, Jim, is if you could also better define exactly what type of maintenance and repair you're gonna do.
Okay.
If it's going to be everything, including any full depth repaving,
Yeah.
fine, but we just need to have that clarity in here.
Okay, that's most likely what it's gonna be, is gonna be all road maintenance.
Everything, okay.
Because, it's hard to pave one side of the road, not the other. And-
Yeah, so it does make
And
sense.
if you got
but-
depth, you're gonna have, so,
We'll just define it.
we'll
then
just trade it out.
compare that. Okay. Very
okay,
good.
yes. That's all I have, thank you.
Zoning.
What
Oh, I'm
about
sorry.
Water Street? I got this in front of me, that's why I asked.
Oh, yeah.
I just got two pieces of paper, I just.
You weren't at the last meeting, I'll
Okay, you
talk
guys
to you
took
about
care
that.
of
No, I've got some paperwork we've got to fill out.
Okay, I just had it.
I was gonna delegate that to you. So, you'll see. We need to get some signatures,
Now we got the dog wagging the tail here. You're gonna delegate to Mr. Camp. Let me see if that's how you do the thing here.
Well,
I'll look it
sounds
up,
good.
Robert's rules. Okay, Mr. Camp, are you okay with
Sorry
that?
about that.
No, if you're okay with that, why, you guys have at it. Zoning.
Thanks, Mike. Back in February, we received a letter from the United States Census Bureau. And the last meeting, the trustees made a motion for me to send them the information. The BAS, which is Boundary and Annexation Survey. And that has been done, so the census has the latest changes that happened to the township. And also, I just wanted to, just a little bit of an update on the property on Strasser, the two properties on Strasser. We're not sitting on it. We're discussing things, and Mr. Lockhart, Mr. Matthews, the potential owners, as you can see, Mr. Matthews has given you a copy of a letter, which is something we discussed, I think, the last time. Cindy and I have talked about it. Mr. Sims and I have talked about it. So we're trying to do all hands on deck with this. We're trying to do what we can. So I just wanted to let the board know that, we're not sitting on it. We're moving. Nothing exciting to report, but we're going to get there one of these times. So, and other than that, I don't have anything else.
Thank you for that effort, Frank, Mr. Matthews, Mr. Sims, all involved. Thank you. Do you have anything to add, Jim?
Well, on this letter, this is actually a draft of a letter that I propose to send tomorrow. Again, as Frank emphasized, to keep this project going on these Strasser properties. I thought we would give them one last ditch effort, the persons involved, to communicate with you and try to explore this option of having a third party buy the properties and clean it up. We've floated this idea to them and not had much response so far, but this letter makes it very clear that if they don't pursue this, basically they're saying they're going to remain responsible themselves for the cleanup costs. my thought was that we filled in the blank date, providing them an opportunity to get back to us by the 22nd. Then you could reconsider what you want to do on the 25th. If you want to give them more time, that's fine too, but
Today's the 11th,
yeah.
that's a week and a half.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that would be suffice.
Yeah, I'm agreeable with that, as long as you let it.
That's the 22nd, is good.
Takes it all the way out to the end of next Friday.
That'll work.
And then I'll report back to you what, if any, response I get, so that you can be better informed and decide which route you want to go.
Thank you.
Does it just go to this one person?
No, actually, because there's the 2 parcels involved. The top letter will be sent to the 3 individuals that are on page 2, and then Mary will get her own letter on her parcel.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Forgive me, I'm not familiar with the circumstance you're talking about. Is that anything that this, the church would be interested in helping with?
Church?
Our church you're talking about, the church stand?
Stanwood?
I think this is probably past. that.
Yeah, this is beyond that, Sean.
It's tear down.
But no,
Good
Good
question.
idea.
you were listening.
Very good.
Yeah, I think that.
There's the other component, though, of just cleaning up the yards. I don't know if that,
I don't know if they do that or not. They might.
There are a lot of yards going up.
Yeah.
Need a dozer.
Yeah, it's basically been a dump. Unfortunately, been running a dump, and it's gotten really, really, really out of hand. But no, thank you for that thought process. I don't think your church, that church, that would be a real reach. You know, since you communicate with them,
Never know. Never
bounce them
know.
off them, you never know. Public speaks.
Do you have any more?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, if you would come to the podium, we have you come up front, state your name and your address, please.
All right, Sean Lazarus, 5373 Cutton Avenue.
And your reason for being here.
I was gonna talk about 2 things. One was, actually ironically, construction debris, and the other was runoff, spring runoff. It's probably a question, forgive me, it's probably more towards Frank. Frank, what would I have to do to, similar to the property you were talking about, if I wanted to bring construction debris on my property from job sites, is there any permit that I would need to have, or?
Where is your property, is residential?
Yeah.
No, there wouldn't be a permit because you probably couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, I'm not sure what construction debris is, but the word debris doesn't sound like anything you should.
It's like demolition, you know, if you, I don't know, tear siding off, or roof, or the kitchen out, or.
Yeah, you would.
You wouldn't need one?
You wouldn't need one, but I don't think you wouldn't be permitted to do it. I think.
Oh, okay. All right.
Zoning would restrict it.
Right. If it was a business, commercial property, then
Already set up that way,
Yeah.
and that's one thing.
not in a residential district.
So if it was,
It depends on, exactly what it is. If it's something that someone is going to use on their home, we're not gonna, if somebody's bringing home lumber to fix their house or to add something to their house, or, those kinds of things. So it just depends on, I guess, the definition of debris.
if it was a commercial property, how would that change?
Depending on what commercial property it is, you would have the right to do that. There are, in the industrial zones, you can have outside storage areas.
What involvement would the township have in approving or disapproving, or could I just do it?
Well, that's a tough question to ask. I mean, it depends on what it is. If it's somehow violates, EPA or something like that, then you could do it, but generally speaking, you could.
You mean as far as changing the zoning, is that what you're saying?
No,
Oh.
I'm just saying, if it was a residential or commercial property, and I was bringing construction debris from job sites and offloading it temporarily, or maybe I wanted to leave it there like the Strasser place.
Ouch.
Yeah.
You know what the Strasser places cost us? Headache, Sean, after
Yeah.
headache, neighbors' unsightliness, rodents, rats.
Yeah.
No, that would be a
would be a problem to the point of the person would, you know, they're responsible to clean it up and you're taking certain actions.
Well, yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff going on that you guys have gone through, which I'm not aware of, so I'll have to, but we can move on from that.
And I think if I'm correct, and please, I don't believe the property was ever zoned for the purpose that we have found it to be used for. Is that a correct statement? Because it's a dump.
Well, that's actually an incorrect statement. Back in, I don't know what year it was, but when I first started working here, I remember I spent hours and hours and hours on doing research on finding out where we are at that present time, which was 20 years ago. And as it turns out, the owners back then were given a conditional use permit to actually run that facility in that residential district. So it's not.
Okay, then fine, incorrect statement, but my understanding was, then in addition to that, that stuff was being brought in a small truck and to be trucked out of there. A lot of that material was to be removed out of there and didn't get removed out of there.
Yeah, and there should have been something in there.
So-
There should have been some conditions.
Yes,
in the
and that
conditional use.
was not done. So by allowing a condition, this is what we're now dealing with 20-plus years later. Neighborhoods change, people buy houses, look over there, it's unsightly, wondering why we're not doing anything to clean it up. The gentleman behind that property has done a magnificent job of renovating and redoing a lot of that, and going to be building some stuff, and so it's taken down the value of and cost us a lot of headaches. So your property is presently residential.
I have a commercial property.
Oh, okay.
And I have the residential.
Okay.
So-
Now, Mr.
So
Frank.
that kind of applies to both. But do we have anything else to say about that?
I don't understand. You're in a residential district where you.
I have a commercial property and a residential property.
In the same area?
Right next to each other.
Okay.
Yeah, they can't be probably. Zoning wouldn't, is it possible?
When I say commercial, it's maybe not zone commercial, so let me.
That's what I'm saying, it
Yeah.
can't be zone commercial, I
Yeah.
don't. So I
Yeah,
don't know what you have.
you're correct.
I don't.
Again, forgive me, I'm just,
Well,
I don't know anything. I'm lucky I found my way here.
Well, you're just cutting right down the road.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
But that's what I'm trying to get a handle on, because I know where you're at, and I didn't know.
You're trying to figure out how's it commercial, and yeah.
Yeah,
So
and yeah.
what I was trying to say, let me correct myself. So my company owns one portion of the property. I personally own the other property.
Okay.
But that doesn't make it commercial from your standpoint in by law. I get it.
Zone.
Zone.
Yeah.
So
There is
I'm
no
sorry.
commercial property on Cut.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Understood.
It's all residential.
I stand corrected.
Okay.
So, no commercial property. But it does, I do have a question about, to change subjects, about the runoff. So Jim's guys were out with the road department for a culvert that was gonna be put in front of my house, which is, I was like, oh, this is great. Well, for the last year or so, I've been trying to improve our property. And the pond, and my kids are swimming in it, all this stuff, so late this winter, there was a foreign property right there. They put up the sign that says approved EPA dumping, biomass dumping site. No trespassing, right next to my house. So I was kind of like, well, that's interesting. So we talked to our, you talk to your network and find out what this stuff is. And so the township, this is the catalyst. The township comes and says, we're gonna put a culvert in. And the reason they wanna put a culvert in, because the water covers more than half the road when it rains real hard over there. And then it runs out and kind of back and into the ditch and down into my pond. Well, now I've got this no trespassing, EPA approved dumping site with biomass, and you're gonna put a culvert in, and it's gonna increase the flow of water into my pond that my kids, I was hoping, could swim in. So, maybe you understand where I was going with the dumping site conversation with the zoning. Now, was so kind to talk to Frank this morning, and he hooked me up with some people, with the township. And, basically, there's no jurisdiction. Frank, correct me, what authority or how do we handle that?
How do you handle what? The drainage or I'm not sure what you're.
All of it. So if I'm a resident of the township, and I wanna have trash in my yard, I have to get zoned and approved. But if somebody gets some kind of EPA permit to have, not only does the township not have really a say in it, to my knowledge, but the county doesn't have a say in it. In fact, if they test the water right here that goes into Clay's Park, not the pond, not the swimming pond, but the other pond, they test that water and it's got biomass in it. You know what biomass is? This is the solidified dry waste from municipal waste treatment plants.
I'm bringing tankers in.
From the city of Barberton, mind you. Specifically, because I thought it might be Hartville and I thought it might be Louisville, but it's not. So,
Is this a big farm or something they're hauling it on?
Yeah.
so I'm not, listen, I don't have any problems with the farmer, because the farmer's looking for free fertilizer.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I also know that sometimes, we do things, I do things, I'm in construction, I understand. Sometimes I install products that could give me these ceiling tiles, if you cut them and you don't wear a mask, you could get cancer in 20 years, we're all surrounded with that type of stuff all the time. So I don't blame him, I'm not upset at him, but I need to know if you guys were aware of it, what rights we have, what can we do. I'm pretty upset about it because I'm trying to raise my family in this community that I think is safe. And really, I'm looking forward to a lot of different things with that. And I'm putting money into these items. I'm like, now I got, what am I gonna do here? Let me tell you the concerns. It's human waste. Anything flushed down the toilet. Let me just tell you something. You've got pharmaceuticals. You've got a hospital. You've got PPG. Yeah, look, I've got all I'll give the 28 pages, 18 pages, another 16 pages, and 2 pages here and 2 pages there of stuff. I couldn't print it all for you guys before I came today. But, I can tell you, I'm not gonna stop. I guess my last stop would be to sell and move. I don't wanna do that. But I got distracted. You've got the pharmaceuticals, you've got chemo treatments. Someone who's getting chemo, who goes to the bathroom and it flushes into the system. There's no way to remove this stuff. You can test all these other things, metals and all that. They don't even have a standard for it. There's not been enough testing done. There's not enough research done on the biomass distribution. It's a pretty scary thing when you really think of it. You've got hundreds of years of possible consequences from this happening. To my knowledge, it's the first one in our county. Are you aware of it? Or maybe not in the county, but it might even be in the county, but at least locally to us.
Yes.
Is the EPA, have you called the EPA?
So,
I found out because I was wondering where all these tankers are coming. Where are they going? Because, there was tankers just coming down 93 and going out Washington Street. And that's where I found out it was.
So the old school, when you think of this stuff, you think of it being spread like manure. No, they actually take it and they have a machine that injects it into the ground. But when the ground is saturated and it's pooling up and then running out onto the road and then running down, we've got it. I mean, it's an issue. It's an issue. So, I don't know how long, they're supposed to flag it, they're supposed to do setbacks. I saw none of that. There was no flagging. There was no notice sent to me as a neighbor right next door. In fact, they farm part of my
Have
property.
you actually seen him,
Inject.
applying it?
Yeah.
Do you know did you give any names on vehicles or any?
They have to post it. There's a
Quasar, isn't it?
It's Quasar, and there's a permit that they had to apply for me. I've got it all here. I'll give you copies of what I have.
I was pointing to Mr. Matthews on the legal end. Because I've been in the township a long time, fortunately, at this, I've waited till everybody, we had this issue one other time that I'm aware of. 15 years ago, maybe, up on 40 Corners. Okay? The only way that got shut down was, we had the health department out there several times, but finally, they got some evidence that there were needles, there were things floating on top of, and they got the hauler and a bunch of people, I believe, involved, and I'm not saying it went away right away, but the residents up there were the catalyst that got, especially the one family, got it moving with the health department, which was our avenue to take. It came out and monitored it, and I can't tell you the entire history now, Sean, of how it ended up. There could be some records or some things in the filing of the health department. Pointing over to Frank, I don't think we have anything in the zoning end of it.
Yeah, we got involved.
Okay, Frank can maybe elaborate. That's the one instance I remember. And I'll tell you what, in Mr. Matthews, it seemed like we were darn near defenseless.
It would require proof that there's an actual adverse effect, some type of nuisance effect to your property, some testing of your pond that found a contaminant, some other visible contaminants.
Right. I think that was the rub. Now, these folks didn't have a pond, but they were adjacent property, and they could look out, they took pictures. Actually, this one, that's why I asked if there was names on the truck. I think there was some photographs of blowing it out. It was a tower, like just shooting it right out in the air. And the puddles and stuff were a result. I think some injection was supposed to be done, might have been done, but the puddling then produced needles and some other things that didn't degrade or didn't get into the, and I just know that it just went on longer than anybody wanted to, but I don't know if that operation ever got shut down.
Yeah, I don't know. Sean,
Because we didn't hear about it then, and I'm not saying it just went away either. I'm not sure how that ended up. I just know we were basically, we couldn't do a darn thing. The health department was the arm that.
yeah, but after we talked, you know, you said some things here that I would disagree with, not with you, but with who told you that nobody can do anything about it?
No, this is my assumption.
Oh, okay, so no one told you that, okay, because I completely disagree with that. What I think I told you, call the EPA. They have to have, this is a program where agriculture, and they're exempt from, they're ag exempt. Remember we talked about that? They're ag exempt, so.
What does that mean?
Agricultural exempted, most farmers all over the state have a program. It's a CAUV or CUAV, one of the two there. It's just that they work with the county, and the county has like a system of reduction of their taxes. But with that, they have some special exemptions. They would be, I would assume that the EPA would be working with the county, the health department, and all of those regulations. And just as Mike just said, back 15 years ago, I don't recall how or when back up now, but it did stop. So somebody did stop it, but the health department, and did you call Rich?
I spoke to someone in his office
Okay.
who gave me the number of the EPA person. who then gave me, they were on vacation till tomorrow. I had intentions, I asked you some very specific questions.
Okay.
Because I do maple syrup as well. You're not to grow food to be consumed by human beings on this particular thing. So you got runoff going back into my woods, which has got maple syrup that I'm harvesting. So there's, it's just,
Yeah, I wouldn't give up. I would contact the EPA and, ask for like their license number or.
I've got it all right here, sir. So.
You have it?
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, I think what Mike brings up a really good point is, I mean, maybe I'm misreading this, but it sounds like you're like, this wasn't like an easy process. It went on longer than you wanted to. So what I'm saying is, I'm like, hey guys, I could use some help here. What can you do? You've had more experience, you've been around longer, and you're telling me you do have rights and maybe I need to have more, extensive conversations with you.
Well, not with me, but see, like that's what you said earlier was, and remember I said something about debris. That isn't considered debris. I mean, it's worse than debris, actually, isn't it?
Thank you.
But it's not considered debris by the health department. However, they have a department, they have an EPA, they work with, I can't believe that the health department, I guess what I'm saying is I can't believe that there's any safety issues with it. And I think that's what Mr. Matthews was saying, if you test it, if you test that water, if you test whatever it is, then you really, in my opinion, would have something to stand on, But I still would contact the EPA and ask them,
Well, I'm going to.
what exactly, how can I, as a resident, what can I do? I think there may be some things that are not like what you think they are, that kind of thing, and to find out what your rights are. And, certainly I'm pretty sure that our trustees here would be, anything, I don't know what they can do, I'm not
You
sure.
ever had your pond water tested, either for heavy metals or anything else? If you haven't, I would recommend that you do it, so
Right.
you have a base level for it
Right.
right now without.
Well, I agree, yeah. It's on the list.
Then you would have some, you would have a case, so to speak, you would have
The
something
health
to.
department would come out and do that, wouldn't they?
I don't know who tests that, I'm not sure if the health
I don't
department
know.
does that, I think you want to
Again-
get an environmental person to come out.
This is kind of where it goes beyond what the scope of what they think is bad.
Correct.
They're measuring heavy metals. They're not measuring pharmaceuticals. They're not measuring trace elements of chemotherapy treatment. I mean, they're not measuring all of these other chemicals and things like that. They have a whole bunch of stuff they measure for. And I'm sure they fall within that realm, otherwise they wouldn't have a permit to do what they're doing.
But a lot of the things that, if this puts you at ease at all, a lot of the things you're talking about oxidize, so they will deteriorate. They won't likely be there for very long. Things that you do have to worry about, though, are things that don't oxidize and don't deteriorate, like certain metals and things like that.
I think the EPA is in Canton now. I think you call the Canton Health Department, I think they're over there now.
Well, Stark County,
Yeah,
or Stark County, wouldn't want to call Canton.
I mean, that's where I think their headquarters is at now. They were in Twinsburg, but I think they're down here now. EPA, I don't think so.
I know the health department was heavily involved in this other incident. We were made aware of it. We went up, myself, I believe Marvin Hargrove, the Illinois board, other people, and talked with the people. They didn't come here. Talked with them. I'm wondering, and I don't know if we have a file, you say, there's some stuff on that?
Oh, I don't know about a
About
file.
15 years ago,
We didn't
we kept that
officially
stuff
do
in
anything.
mind.
The health department did it. We just, there would be minutes or something that,
Yeah,
when the lady came in to discuss it, but it's not, again, it's ag exempt. It's nothing that we
Yeah,
can
I
do.
just know that when you start to pursue these things, you find out where you have very little authority or direction you can go.
They're giving you all the right concepts. It is an agricultural exempt operation and having a permit from the EPA throws another word into this mix, which is preemption. The EPA preempts their local authority to regulate the same industry, let alone prevent it. But I can tell you, though, there is a separate body of the code that specifically authorizes the Board of Township Trustees to pursue health-related nuisances. But again, it's very fact-specific and it's driven by having proof that there's a problem. So I can't stress that enough for you. I was involved in a predicament up in Portage County where an abandoned farm, somebody started using it for processing things and it got out of control. And basically their waste products filled an old, you probably know what they're called, the old, it's like a large concrete vat for
Manure pit.
Manure pit? Okay. Well, that became basically filled with this new company's operation. And of course, all it took was a springtime to come through with a lot of rain, and all of that started going everywhere. So it was clear that those byproducts were in the rainwater and were actively being spread across the land adjacent to the property, so we were able to shut it down. But it's a very fact-specific problem, and I don't want to suggest to you that unfortunately you have to wait until you have a problem and then you can pursue it, but that's the way these things operate. They're preempted and they're presumed to work within their permit and be doing something lawful. It's only when they exceed that by harming you that they're no longer operating lawfully. And actually at that point, the board's correct and Frank's correct. You have all these other resources. You've got the EPA, you've got the health department. But the board would actually have jurisdiction to step in at that point.
The minute that I find something.
Right. But if you were actually being contaminated by an adjoining nuisance.
What are the Wadsworth testing up in North Camp? They tested all, I don't know if they're still there. But you take your samples in there, they'll come get the samples and they'll test for everything, just not.
Okay.
That's not real cheap. I forget what it was.
Yeah, because it sounds to me what you're describing is maybe a long-term problem that you're unfortunately going to have to deal with. So you do need to protect yourself by having some baseline levels of what your pond water is like. Do you have a well out there, or is that a public system?
They're all water.
I would have the well tested as well.
How long have you noticed this been going on?
First time they put the sign out was this late winter.
This one?
Late winter,
This
so
late. It was
like in
late.
February sometime? Is it
Yeah.
late winter,
January.
February, or
Maybe.
March?
Well, he brought up about a culvert. Is that something we need to maybe,
Yeah, I spoke with him that day. We talked about
so we got
all
that
this, so-
straightened out?
Yeah, I got it. I'll get a hold of him and I got his number and stuff. We got it.
Okay, okay. Well, we got that.
Because I was joking with you and I said,
Yeah,
"We'll
no,
put a retaining pond in so
Yeah.
that it catches all that crud."
By the way, that story in the buildup was just a little bit of,
Hey, you guys were talking about it already before I got here.
I'll tell you what, I was listening intently and thinking, why would you want to start the brick building one house? You know? Okay, I'll go along with it. You're bigger than me.
That makes sense.
But then, a pretty interesting journey there. Well, unfortunately, as Mr. Matthews pointed out, some water testing, some monitoring, something's got to show up, you're saying, before we get involved.
Yeah, there has to actually be a nuisance, not just a
I mean, I don't want to stick my nose in something
feared
I'm not supposed
operation.
to,
Yeah.
but if I can be of some help with the board can, we certainly want to do our share, but I don't want to get in prematurely, it's too late, whatever, I guess you'll have to keep us posted.
I think I'll talk to some of my neighbors and everybody downstream and have them
There you
do
go.
the same.
Downstream,
And if you haven't done this already, I think it'd be worth at least a call or two to your local state legislatures, like state representatives.
and again, I'm not sure if Mr. Schuring is a senator now, or he's our rep, but he and Scott are.
Who's on
I
now?
don't think either. Is
Yeah.
that Bill Romer?
Oh, that's
He's
right.
been to a couple of meetings.
Yeah.
Well, no, but, okay, Romer's our representative, but either whoever the senator is, we're still in the senator district.
No?
I don't
It's
think
like
so.
Not
daily.
involved anymore.
What, we got out of that too?
I think so. You should get.
It wouldn't hurt, just from a constituent service standpoint, maybe they can.
You're right, on
Have
Rover,
a
I thought
staff
we
or
still had
call
the same
somebody at the
thing.
EPA to make sure that things are okay.
Do we have a card for Bill?
We've got all the permits and everything here.
Also, the Senate and
Would we have a phone number for?
Rich Rome,
Hey, Rebecca,
Make sure you talk
do we have a number for that?
whenever he gets
phone?
back. He will come out and look at it, maybe test it, so.
He was,
Also called,
he was
Stark
at
County,
what,
extension agent,
When they come over to
Start soil and water,
Yeah,
that's,
with the
that's
extension
rich,
agent.
that's rich.
over their house, not their meter.
He didn't this time?
I was at a seminar that was applying, animal waste and all that. They have all the rules and regulations over there, and a direct line in that we need to talk to too.
Well, thank you guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Keep us posted.
Yeah, they may.
I know you will.
Will do.
All right. Other items,
Okay.
any additional public speaks? Hearing none. Any other business to be brought before the board? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Second. Call the roll.
Second, Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Camp? Mr. Stevens?
Thank you for that help there. And as he talked through, it's got to be 15 years or better, Frank, 20 probably?
I would say
15 to 20, you and I were both around.
I love it since the ladies' day.
I know, that, how can I forget that?
And I remember seeing pictures.
So far back, we were in the old building.
We were in the old building, and I can remember there was actually pieces of underwear hanging from that side to that tower. They were spraying, they were shooting out, they were spraying. What Sean's talking about was something different. Yeah, that's when Berkey and them guys are bringing municipal waste. But it probably was the same stuff. It's just, it's probably safer now that they're injecting it. I would be concerned.
This is the guy who made a deal with
Did you?
What we're gonna do is get right here. What's gonna happen if I?
What?
Next
She don't need to stand back here.
Got the other one done, huh?
Yeah, 10 days ago.
How can I?
It's tough to say other one or harder.
I think I'm ahead of the last one.
You should know what time.
Second day, I'll tell you, I took a walk on Saturday.
Hey there, lady.
Not have to drive.
No. That's all. I'll just have it. I would too, because.
I thought that was Simon.
Yeah, I'll get those and I'll get those. When I get flippers, how about if I just fax it? Okay, I'll fax it over.
You want to set up a day, so I look, set whatever day for it is and whatever hour. What I do is I set mine up on a weekday at around 3 o'clock.
I called at 4 o'clock and they were already gone.
And they have to have a chance to inspect it, so you can put it up for sale, we can get together one of these days, and put it up for sale, and then choose a day. Friday at 3 o'clock, or Friday at 2 o'clock.
You know what I mean? That's fine, let's set up, join in a second.
I work in Mass on that day, so it don't matter to me.
If that works, then we have to do it.
Yeah, which was, we do that one day. We have anything going on.
Did you show up?
All right. Okay,
it's just a real quick question.
But anyway,
Let's see if
and also Cal, here's his hours. And then
I don't want to go to my
keep the code.
You know,
They're
it's
going
on the
to,
other side.
they're gonna go there
And sometimes there might be somebody that's real nice.
and waiver.
Well, absolutely, yeah, they open the door, check it in, it's out of me, and I'll sign it, send it back.
The way our
Might
front
take-
porch is set up, they could be standing over here behind the
So-
brick between the
Did she
door
get a
and
hold of
the
you
window.
about that property on
She called me last week, and she said that she was going to contact me today. And see if they're but she didn't.
Want to protect me, I know. She said everything's okay, she could hide it in the corner.
I don't know, well,
Yeah,
here's the one thing
But I did want to mention that.
Years ago,
be aware
they
of. And
young
I'm gonna try to run it by all.
or stayed my dad. And there was a van following her, to see who was home. Because,
Oh, that's
you know, think some 20-year-old girl, is there a break in the house? Oh, I went to the other one, can I pay you for all the things?
Right, yeah, that one I was like.